Hello everybody, it's Wyvern here with another bit of Total War, Warhammer 2 Quick Match gameplay. This time around we are on Iron Mountain Pass, playing as the forces of the Vampire Coast against the Lizardmen. And going into this one, I did want to try out a Lord I haven't really given much effort to. Previously, I've run basically all of the other Vampire Coast Lords at this point. I've tried out the generic ones, I've tried out Aranessa, I've tried out of course, Luther and Noctilus, my go-tos, really. But I wanted to try out Slostra. As you guys know, I do have some dislike for this character, but regardless, she does look pretty cool here on her crazy Leviathan. Just look at this hideous beast. I also haven't gotten any Leviathan play in, really, and so getting to try it out was awesome. And I do like some of her abilities. I think they're pretty cool. She's got a crazy AoE debuff, the Song of Enthrallment. She also does have the Ghost of the Past, and I figured having some cav on a faction as slow as and inflexible as the Vampire Coast would be a lot of fun in multiplayer. So regardless, here you guys have it. Celostra Direfin. She's got a few different spells. She's got Spiteful Shot, she's got Denizens of the Deep, which is currently probably overpowered. This Rotting Promethean summon costing only 13 wins of magic, having very low cooldown and being a pretty bonkers summon is just, in my opinion, crazy. We also do have the Bordalo Flabellum, which gives us better power recharge rate and reduced ability recharge, which means we can spam even more. Fog of the Damned, I didn't actually bring the trait because the spell trait, it does damage to everything on the map, but it does trash damage, so it's not really worth it in my opinion. Song of Enthrallment, Ghost of the Past, and Arcana Conduit. So she's kitted out in full. Although she loses most of her physical resistance, she does keep like 10% of it, which is nice. She does get something. Fear and Terror, not the most useful against dinos, but okay. And the melee stats, you know, respectable. 42 defense, 52 melee attack, 150 armor. Definitely pretty solid. Alongside her, we did bring a Vampire Fleet Captain with Lore of Vampires. I think Lore of Vampires is just too good to pass up normally. Drown Dead and Invocation from the Heck, getting cheap summons as well as heals is awesome. Plus we get a Power Stone and Taunt, which is a nice debuff. And in my opinion, Taunt and Hornswaggle are a bit ridiculous because you can put them out again on any enemy. It's not limited to heroes like El Sif, for example, is. So it's pretty nuts. And she, of course, she does have the Hunger as well as the Curse of Undeath, so all very good spells. And probably I'm going to be using Celostra as a battery for the Vampire Fleet Captain. Just look at this, it's awesome gal with her hook hand. But regardless, for the main line, 2 units of Depth Guard with polearms, figuring, you know, big dinos, they're not that rare of a sight in this matchup. These guys do have Frenzy, they've got pretty crazy weapon strength, decent enough melee stats, and of course with Hunger they should stick around rather well. We do have the Bloody Reaver deck card who have Enrage, so they can be more resistant. Zombie Pirate deckhands to oversaturate them a little bit, and then a bunch of Pirate deckhand mobs with Halberds on the peripheries. You don't necessarily have to worry too much about your opponent compromising your backline with Lizards, so I figured we can go pretty cheap and not invest too heavily into it. Finally, we do have the Black Spot and 4 units of Zombie Pirate Gunnery mobs with handguns to give us some AP firepower. For my opponent, he did decide to roll with a Mazda Mundi, who has gotten, I do believe some changes were made to the Slan. I think he got more HP in this past patch. Otherwise, he's nothing too fancy. My opponent did bring, I think, the full magical kit here. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, he's got all his spells, which is pretty crazy. He even has Rolling Skies, not actually necessarily the worst of upgrades against the Vampire Coast, Greater Arcane Conduit, Banishment, and the Ruination of Cities. Though surprisingly, no Sunburst Standard of Hexoatl, which I would highly recommend against Vampire Coast, who is going to bring a hell of a lot of DACA. Front line of Sarge Warriors with shields. These guys did get buffed to melee attack the last patch, and they will mulch through zombies for all time. 3 Temple Guard behind that, providing some additional staying power. These guys have got a buff to the HP, so they're a lot tankier than they already were. Bastiladon with a Soul Engine, who I think popped some shots into the trees here and did nothing, so sucks for him. Bit of an odd choice, though, perhaps decent against Celostra, if she's not mounted on a Promethean. But personally, I wouldn't really recommend the Bastiladon with the Soul Engine. I think it's not really worth it. Chameleon Skinks and Croc Scorch to mulch through infantry. And finally, a Star Scarvet with Foe Seeker, Deadly Onslaught, and he is mounted on a Cold One. So he's got some decent anti-large presence. Bonus for sort of 30, definitely pretty respectable. Now we're going to push in. It's going to be a bit of a slow walk to the front line. My opponent simply camping back and letting me come to him. Me willing to oblige, but it's going to take a while because we're zombies, and I don't intend to overextend and let my depth card get isolated. And it's going to take a while for the zombies to get into range, but finally they are there, and we're going to start teeing off on these scaly lizards, and you can see the volley after volley just smashing into these guys. we're not committing to the depth guard immediately. We're using our polearms, you can see, and our deckhands to soak up the charges here. And certainly they're not going to do well in this situation. But once we bog down the Saurus, waste their charge bonus, we can then push in from the flanks with the depth guard, or stiffen up the line with the Bloody Reavers over here. Unfortunately, I forget to use Enrage, but hey, it's a buff. And in comes Slostra diving in to apply pressure. And to prevent my opponent's Chameleon Skinks from getting work done, we are actually going to summon the Damned Knights Errant over here, who are immediately going to start chasing after these Chameleon Skinks. And these guys with their high resistance, their fear, terror, and you know, not great melee stats, but hey, they do something. They're going to be able to run these Skinks down and force them off the field. Elsewhere, in the meantime, the zombie pirate deckhands committing to shut down the Temple Guard and prevent them from pushing through. My opponent trying to push through here on the flank, but we are going to hit these Cockscores with a taunt. They are chevroned up a whole bunch, which is buffing their stats, but they're just being pounded. They've got summoned deckhands on them, they've got the Depth Guard with pole arms on them, and we got Invocation of the Heck going down, keeping these guys in pretty good shape. And plus the volley fire from the zombie pirate gunnery mob just wailing into these guys and withering, just destroying them. Prometheans do get summoned. They're going to really start munching on these Star Scarvets, or these Star Warriors, not vets. And then come the Damned Knights Errant to really mess up this backline. Not the greatest charge bonus, not the greatest melee stats, but, you know, charge is a charge, and they do cause fear and terror, and I guess Celestra does too. But Celestra, you know, she's doing some work here, mostly providing a battery of spells over here on this flank. Unfortunately, Incursion of the Midnight Wind is going down, debuffing my troops, and you can see a nuke going down from Mazdamundi there, taking it down about half the zombie pirate gunnery mob, and a chunk of the second one as well. Banishment already did plow through my Bloody Reaver deck card, but they're sticking around, and we are cycle charging with our Damned Knights Errant in and out, just destroying these guys. And over here, after losing one polearm, we're just committing another to tie down these Temple Guard. And unfortunately, these Temple Guard are now in a very bad spot, so potentially our own handguns can start pouring fire into them. And this front line is finally buckling because these Star Warriors terror routing out. Obviously, not being immune to psychology, even on a unit like this, can result in falling apart. And we are going to be able to force a rout. We're going to be able to run them down. We do have all this cav. And now the handgun's focusing on Mazdamundi there. Perhaps kind of wasted. I probably should have used them against these Temple Guard, but hey, at least it's something. Shield of the Old Ones has gone down to keep these Temple Guard up and running, but unfortunately the center is broken. My opponent's line at this point falling apart. The Croc Scores and the Star Scarvet forced to rout off. The Vampire Fleet Captain is in the pits here, slugging it out. She's a very respectable combatant. Low armor, which sucks against lizards, who have a lot of low or lower AP units in their infantry line, but you know, she's still respectable and providing Hornswaggle and all that stuff and leadership to keep these guys from routing. Over here, the polearms tying down the Temple Guard actually took down 4 models, which is impressive, more than I would expect. At this point, with my opponent's lines breaking, we're going to start swarming in on the Temple Guard. We're actually using Celestra as a Lord Hunter, which, as we all know, she's really kitted out to do. But just look at the monster mash there. The crab coming in, hot and heavy. Slaughtered Mazdamundi in full retreat on his toilet seat here, getting hit by Song of Enthrallment, just not able to quite make it. You know, we are getting poisoned, unfortunately, by the Pastelletton with the Solar Engine, because he does have those little skinks with the javelins on there. But Mazdamundi is still getting munched on. Celestra, you know, it's not the greatest weapon strength because it's only a crab, but still, Mazdamundi's not going to be coming back from this one as he's forced to the edge of the map. Elsewhere, Temple Guard just being overwhelmed. The Bloody Reaver deck card, if no one else can, will win this fight for me. Just pushing in on top of these Prometheans and on top of this chaff to really deal the killing blow. Elsewhere, you know, polearms finally giving in, but we've actually managed to swing out wide with some of our handguns, start pouring fire into the flank. The Sars Old Blood has that, or the Sars Cold Blood. Wow, I'm hopeless. I'm sorry, guys. The Sars Scarvet has been routed or killed, I think, maybe. Not even sure where he's at, if he's dead. But the Temple Guard's now kind of being overwhelmed. The last 2 pockets of resistance there. Over here, Celestra. Oh, that was actually. He came back to fight Celestra, and he's dead here, I think, under her bulk. He got squashed. But we are now slowing out with Bastiladon. Last sort of fight. Bastiladon obviously doing some poison work with the skinks, but who really cares? Celestra's too strong. Just far too high weapon strength and melee stats for this guy, and she's going to be able to take him down easy peasy. And at this point, it's going to be GG as the handguns pound the Temple Guard, and my opponent kind of throws in the towel. So, honestly, I think this is a decent strat. Now, Celestra, a bit of an interesting pick. I haven't really played enough with her to know if she's good or if she's bad. I don't know how she is on foot. I think she's risky because you can a couple Spirit Leeches or Arcane Conforgings, especially if you didn't bring Invocation of the Heck, will screw you hard. I think another crab, though, she's decent. If your opponent doesn't have great tools to snipe you with, which Lizardmen don't really have, they could try to pile through you with Carnosaurs, but that means that they're not focusing on your Dakon. You can bring, even with Celestra, who costs like 3,000 gold, you can bring a lot of shooting as Vampire Coast. So that's not really a problem. I do think that otherwise this is decent. You have some staying power, which will just stall your opponent. You got a lot of gunpowder to do the Lord's work against big monsters, and the depth guard will hold out rather well in my experience against these sort of elite troops. And Celestra does give some additional staying power. If your opponent goes Saurus heavy, the fact that you've got Celestra and you've got the Vampire Fleet Captain, I think is a big boon in that sort of situation. Definitely, I think that going wide with Lizards is probably the way to go against the Vampire Coast. I would perhaps try to bring some more options to compromise the backline. I think the lack of tools to really shut down these handguns was a big mistake, because it meant that the Croc Scores and the Star Scarvet basically got no value. They just got shut down way too quickly. And the Bastillodon with the Solar Engine, while the some kills in there, just wasn't really able to dish out hurt to important targets. I don't think there's many valuable targets for him to shoot at. Like, you can shoot at the Bloody Reaver deck guard or depth guard with polearms, but once they're engaged in melee, that doesn't really work. And if your opponent brings like cannons and stuff, you're going to be in deep trouble. So I'm not personally a big fan of it. I think you're better off just going wide or getting some more cold ones in there, or some cold riders. But regardless, I do hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you found it informative and entertaining. If you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe down below. If you have any comments, any criticism, any questions, as usual, do not hesitate to post them. I will do my best to respond. I do thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye for now.